Welcome to our community. Susie Thomas with you this morning. Very happy to welcome our friends from Lake Center Christian School. We've got Dawn Campanelli and Dr. Joe Beeson. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
So, first of all, let's get personal before we do business. How are you getting along? How did all this coronavirus affect Lake Center Christian School, and how did you navigate that?
Well, I'll jump in and just say that it, of course, was a challenge just like every school. But one of the exciting parts was we were nearing our spring break when it first started to rear its ugly head, and we began to realize how it was going to affect everyone. So we were able to take a couple of days and do training with our faculty members, and many of them had already been using online tools with their students. Plus, in grades 7 through 12, we're a one-to-one school, so every student already had a device. And then in grades 4 through 6, the students had access to a device at school, so we just checked those out to the students. So we survived okay. I think it was a positive experience for most. It was, of course, not as good as being face-to-face because we recognize the importance of relationships for our folks. And our teachers miss giving their kids a hug each day and telling them how much they were cared for and how much they were loved. And so that was a hard part. But I think overall we weathered it pretty well. And I think we can just praise the Lord for that.
Yes, they were cared for in other ways this time.
Yes. And I'll let Dawn talk a little bit about, how our donors have responded and how things have continued to move forward.
Dawn, this is kind of a new role for you. Tell us how you got involved.
Yes, I'm really looking forward to being the Director of Advancement for Lake Center Christian School. That's an awesome mission to be able to love the Lord and serve the Lord in a way that helps educate our students to achieve that biblical worldview as well. And as Dr. Beeson explained, just the foresight of the leadership of our board members and our administration to already be thinking about and preparing and planning for and having provision for the technology tools as well as the other assets to be pivotal and innovative to really care for our students online and doing other things through social media posts. Our Director of Marketing, Kim Beavers, did an awesome job to keep us all connected. And I really love that our teachers took school to home when it became safe again and, respecting our social distancing, really distributing, unique awards for our fine arts as well as our athletics and scholarship awards to our students on their front porches.
Neat.
Highlighting those opportunities through the social media posts so that we could all see and enjoy in that fellowship.
Everyone had to get very creative, did they not? You think of, my heart honestly breaks for the seniors because you look forward to that year. And I think of those awards banquets and graduation and the special dinners and the play. Lake Center always has an amazing play. And what did they do instead? Were there some things you were able to kind of improvise and do differently?
Actually, that was probably the bigger challenge, was trying to do some of our creative opportunities. Many of our students, especially instrumentalists and vocalists, would perform individually for their teachers, but again, getting together as a whole group was quite the challenge. So it was nice that our fine arts department did personally go out and visit each student who had won an award in band or choir or orchestra, and it just was fun to see. And again, the relationships were so important. Our Teacher Appreciation Week was fun. We sort of divided up our faculty, and each one of our administrators took a pizza to the house for our teachers, let them know how much we appreciated them and the hard work they were doing. So it was just great to get out and and get face-to-face with them at least a little bit.
That is the other side of this coin. It seems that because everyone got creative, came up with some neat new ideas that I'm wondering now maybe all of the fine arts students will hope that teachers come by their house and drop off something. That this should carry on a new tradition. Do you think there'll be any new traditions that have grown from this?
I think there will be. We had an excellent senior parade this year. We actually started
neat.
them clear up at the other end of Hartsville and came through town with a fire truck and police and made a route around the school as well, and it just had a great turnout. So we're hoping maybe in future years we can do that same thing and just invite the entire community to be a part of celebration for our seniors.
I think that sounds wonderful. Yes, that should be a tradition in all the towns from now on. I just love that. So cool. Dawn, you working with the alumni, it's kind of an extra challenge, I'm guessing, when you're working with kind of a young school when it comes to alumni. So how have you connected with them? And I mean, my goodness, the oldest alumni can't be that old.
Well, I mean, we have the benefit. I think we're on our 17th graduating class. Is that correct, Dr. Mason?
I think so.
That's
Yeah,
pretty
it
good.
happened tonight. So actually, on June 26th, we had, again, a team in place that are affording the opportunity because we are such a small, unique school community. We have the space of a new cafenasium that our members and our donors have stepped up to fully fund.
I love that word.
And so they are, we're utilizing that space because it has multi-purpose to actually host graduation with social distancing of 6 feet apart for every family with our conversion benches that are, our team here just really thinks of how we can utilize resources, not in just one ways, but in multiple facet ways. So that space is also utilized for our weekly chapels for our students. So it's always full of, great fellowship and music. And Mr. Canori leads great pastoral lessons from the stage for us there. So I think really what's fun about our alumni is they're actually having families of their own. And we're starting to see another generation of their children coming and attending and helping grow our elementary school space. So last year we had 691 students from 8 different counties, representing about 33 school districts from our communities. So that's been the exciting part. Those young parents were excited and enthusiastic, and they saw the need. They worked really hard with building and, again, fully funding a playground renovation for our school that is just vibrant, in our school colors and has lots of great assets. And from my window right now, I'm watching our track project start to take shape.
Awesome.
So we are in growth mode, and it's very exciting for our current families and for those that are looking for Christian education opportunities.
What does that tell you about the experience that your alumni had when they, in turn, now are bringing their own children there?
Dr. Beeson, I'll let you take that question.
Well, it's exciting to see. We have several of our alumni actually on staff. I can think of 4 that are actually teaching in the classroom. And then we've got a couple of them that are going to be our soccer coaches this year, and just exciting to see that they want to build into lives. And in an interview with one of those coaches, his comment was that he had learned the importance of building into a student's lives because a coach had built into his, and that he had actually put off some of his schoolwork because it was going to interfere with opportunities he would have to work with kids. And so it's just good to see that kind of a heart. And again, that's that relationship. One of the teachers that was delivering things to the students commented that at one of the homes she visited, as soon as the door opened and the student saw her standing there, the student just burst into tears and was just so happy to see her teacher. So I don't think that happened when I was in school.
No, I can't. I might have burst into tears, but it would have been for a whole different reason. That
Yes.
it was an emotional time. This was a different kind of spring, and as to be expected, Lake Center Christian stepped up and did what was necessary to make those kids feel special and to let them know how special they really are. One thing that concerns me, because it's one of my all-time favorite events in the community, is your auction, your amazing auction. And obviously that couldn't take place this year. So what are you doing about fundraising? Or was it an online auction, or what did you do?
You're right there, Susie. We just did what was available to us, and so it was converted to an online auction and did very well. We were very, very pleased with the community response to that new format. As you appreciate, Lake Center loves the fellowship that comes with our events and our fundraisers. So it was an opportunity to still have engagement from a investment standpoint for support. We're so appreciative of that. We are cautiously moving forward with our events for next school year as we look at, we're planning them in person, and obviously being conscientious and respectful to understand that we might have to pivot. So we're making those contingency plans as well.
Yeah. What can you tell us so far? Masks or no masks? And how do you do desks 6 feet apart? And what are the logistics that you're having to think ahead about?
Well, we've been doing a number of discussions with other superintendents in the area and private school leaders as well through the Association of Christian Schools International. We have a Northeast Ohio superintendents group, and we've had quite a number of discussions. And again, just like our public school counterparts, we have to wait to hear what the governor says.
Right.
You know, our perspective is that we will do everything that is possible for us to do with regard to maintaining student safety. We think that's important. We recognize how important that is. We've not made, I can just pretty well say that masks for younger students is just not practical.
Yeah.
And that's not something that we're planning on. If we're forced to do social distancing, then we have to look at what decisions we have to make with regard to online. But if we're not forced to do those things, we feel we can still maintain safety of our students through regular hygiene, through reminding them to keep their hands washed, keep their hands away from their face, and those sort of things. So it's going to be important that we hear what the governor has to say.
Yes, it will be. How do you care for their emotional well-being? I'm thinking that what we're going through is a fearful time for many adults. All the more of a challenge of leading and guiding little ones through it without making them be scared. How are you addressing that?
Well, we think it's important that students recognize that the scripture says God's not given us a spirit of fear,
Amen.
but of love and of power and of a sound mind, and help them to understand that as a part of that we love one another, which is one reason we try to protect one another, that we don't have to be afraid because God's still in charge, and he has given us that sound mind to make wise decisions. And so as long as we're doing those things, we can rest in his perfect peace that he gives through his Spirit. And so we want students to understand that and to recognize that, yes, we live in a broken world. That's the result of sin. And that's why disease is in the world, because of sin and man's original sin. And so they can trust him as their Savior, that he'll give them that perfect peace that passes understanding, that his Spirit can comfort them, that prayer, Bible reading, fellowship, all those spiritual disciplines that we as adults should be practicing, that they can practice as well. And as a result, that will help them to get through those times of uncertainty. And actually, they do have fear, and so we have to help counsel them through that as well.
It's the ultimate object lesson, isn't it? They're getting to walk through this, live through it, and find out, oh, this is for real.
Yes.
God's for real, and He really is protecting me through this, and in a way that is better than we could try and come up with some, lesson plans, but this is the ultimate one. We do need to take a short break here. We'll be back with Dr. Joe Beeson and Don Campanelli from Lake Center Christian School after these words. You're listening to Our Community. Welcome back to Our Community. Susie Thomas visiting with our friends from Lake Center Christian School. We've got Dr. Joe Beeson and Don Campanelli with us. One of the things you mentioned were that you were already doing so many things online, and that's what's been always so impressive about Lake Center is the how advanced you are with technology, and what the children and the students were already so good at, and that really flipping to becoming a lot of online learning probably wasn't as much of a stretch for Lake Center as for some others. You want to touch on that a bit?
Yeah, I think that's a good point because, again, a number of especially our junior high teachers had already actively using Google Classroom, and assignments were there, videos were there, lectures were there, assignments were turned in through there, and so they were operating that way anyway. And some of our high school math classes had already gone to the flipped classroom model where there was a tape or videotape. Those were the days where there was a digital recording.
I knew what you meant.
Exactly. There was a digital recording that the teacher made and that presented the lesson, and then the classroom time was spent doing homework and answering questions. So, yeah, that I think was important that our people recognize that, and we've, even as we look to the future, adding interactive TVs to our classrooms as opposed to the smart and whiteboard as we transition to those. And so it's just great to see that our faculty embrace learning. They are learners themselves. They model our lifelong learning mission. And, we have teachers that have been in the classroom for many years, and yet those teachers are willingly stepping out to try to learn new technology, willingly open up to new ideas. And so it's just, again, a learning place.
Yes. And also it probably really brought to the forefront the wonderful relationship between the parents, the families, and the teachers, because parents were becoming part-time teachers without signing up for that. But they probably had to work together a lot to get these lessons done with their children at home, yes?
Yes, it was a good experience. I received several positive comments from parents about how much they appreciated the teachers and they're reaching out. And so it was a great experience, I think, for many. I can't say it was perfect 100% of the time. There were those times when parents were a bit frustrated because they didn't understand an assignment or it wasn't clear. And so we have worked really hard at taking steps for if, not when, if this happens again,
yes,
that we will have the ability to make it even better by having a learning management system that every classroom teacher uses and every parent will know what to expect. It'll be an interface that they will be familiar with because we will use it for face-to-face instruction. The notes and everything will be there, as well as then you can use it for online learning. So we as an administration learned a lot and have tried to do our homework to make the experience better next time.
Well, there was no real playbook for a global pandemic. We all were kind of learning as we went. We all had our crisis plans, and we all, had the what if this would happen and sort of a little bit of a plan in place. But until you're really living through it, there's no playbook. You really are finding out ways to do things better as you go. And so now you've got one. Now you've got the playbook for if, not when, it should ever happen again. How about online chapel? How did you do that?
Well, that was interesting. Mr. Canori, a couple of times, put his chapel online, shared it with the families. We did a Facebook Live chapel. So it was just trying to do the same things to make it available to parents to use.
Dawn, what are some ways people can give? Because I know as they hear more and more about Lake Center, they can really get behind your mission. And maybe they did not happen to have gone there themselves, but they would sure love to be able to support financially those who are going there or those who would like to go there. How can we do that?
I really appreciate the opportunity to expand upon that. Thank you, Susie. As you described, we have some fundraisers. So those are active ways that people participate through our family roundup, and gentlemen that like to golf and ladies as well, annual golf outing. We do plan to have our auction again, so it's another great opportunity for event fundraising. But we really value the friend walking alongside of our families as we expand out in the diversity of our students that are attending here. We really would appreciate those that are interested in joining us to partner. Through our tuition assistance, we annually try to raise about $120,000 to support students that want to attend that might need some financial assistance for their families to be able to do that. So in that context, we are also looking to the future, and those entities or family foundations, opportunities to help us with capital campaigns. We would love to sit down and share our vision for Lake Center Christian Schools growth over the next 5 to 10 years.
Awesome. Does it look like the golf outing is going to be taking place?
We are actually past time, so we are looking and planning for a May-June event of 2021. So we appreciate that. That has its own built-in social distancing opportunities.
That's right.
And so we plan to move forward with that next season.
And what is Family Roundup? I don't remember Family Roundup.
It's more of a community event to help us celebrate our families that are here, to introduce them to each other. It kicks off in September, but it also gives an opportunity if someone is interested in the school for us to individually invite them as our guest so they can meet other parents and learn about the great assets of our school.
Oh, nice. And that's open to anyone in the community?
We would like them to give us a call here first so that we can plug them in appropriately and get them the dates and times to be our guest.
I hope we have enough time here to talk a little bit about vision. You know, with the year 2020, everybody was talking about their 2020 vision. They would have been lax if they weren't using that, you know, as a little way to talk about it. But who saw 2020 coming as 2020 turned out to be so far anyway? No one. So now we're looking ahead to 2021 vision, even though that has nothing to do with eyesight. But I would love to hear what Lake Center Christian is looking forward to in the future, in the next 5 or so years ahead, because you always do seem to be just a little bit ahead of the curve as far as education.
Well, let me jump in, and I think that that's a really good point. I think a couple of our just finished up a strategic plan that hit on several major areas. One of those had to do with continuing to bring in the necessary funds to help our faculty. You know, we've got some really quality folks, and typically those that minister in private Christian schools do so at sacrifice financially. But God's faithful. I've been in it my whole life. He's been faithful to meet every need.
Mm-hmm.
But our board is looking at ways to increase funding so that we can continue to raise their salaries so that they're closer to what their public school counterparts might make. And so that's a real vision to continue to increase our financial income that way. Another is to finalize that campus plan. You know, we have visions for improving a venue where we can do our fine arts performances. And so we've talked for years about where we're going to put that fine arts hall. And so we are in discussions with an architect to help us lay out a campus plan. And as we see our growth, sometimes that even has to be adjusted. We had one several years ago and then realized, our growth is coming so quickly, we have a need for extra classroom space. And so how's that going to be adjusted? And we have donors who have a vision for some athletic things. So we're basically putting in an 8-lane all-weather track, and only $63,000 short of our $235,000 goal to do that. And we should have that in, Lord willing, by the time the fall comes around for next track season.
My goodness.
And so that campus plan is a part of our vision, making sure we know exactly where we're going to grow. And I think that's important. And then you mentioned, we're on the cutting edge. Future-ready learners is such a thing that's important to us. I mean, you and I, our schooling was different because it was preparing us for a different role.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we need to make sure that the schooling we give our students is preparing them for the roles they're going to have in the future. We realize that, many of the jobs that they're preparing for don't even exist yet.
Right.
And so to prepare them for a specific job is probably not doing them the right kind of service. So we're looking at making those future-ready learners through collaboration, through creativity, through helping them to problem solve. All those are things that we're making sure are part of our curriculum at school.
So they can continue to learn how to learn so that when those jobs are invented, they'll be ready to learn how to do them.
Yes. And overcome the difficulties. I mean, there's lots of things I can't figure out, so who can help me and how can I get there? That's some important skills.
Yes. I might not know it, but I know where to go find out.
Yes, ma'am.
That helps. Something that's always been so impressive about Lake Center is your ability to pay as you go. I'm guessing there's like zero debt, if any. Am I right?
Yes.
First of all, am I right in that guessing?
Dawn, you want to answer that?
Yes, you are right in that guessing. You don't have to guess.
Okay.
Again, the school's foundation is very solid, built on biblical principles, and being debt-free is very important to our overall vision and planning. And it is just phenomenal to watch, not always in our time, but in God's time, as we share our vision and goal with others, that the campus continues to expand to meet the needs of our wants and our wishes. It is truly a blessed opportunity to be part of advancing that goal.
It certainly is. Well, yes, and when you're talking about the new awesome-sounding track and the fact that you expect that to be paid for and ready to go by the fall, how exciting is that? If folks want to take a tour and find out more about Lake Center, I'm sure maybe that's a little different now than it has been in the past. What should they do?
I would first ask them to visit our website, lccs.com. It affords them a great overview about our core values, as well as some of the details of the information we talked about this morning. I think that's a great first step, and Jackie Gillian from our admissions team is awesome about inviting parents in and touring the facility and answering all those admission questions. And if they just want to drive by, they can get a really good look at the campus concept that Dr. Beeson was expanding upon. It's just externally, it's exciting as well. And internally, the building is just full of such great love for God and serving our students and our communities. They'd be well served by planning some time to visit with us.
I certainly agree. Lake Center Christian School, located in Hartville, Ohio. Dr. Joe Beeson, Dawn Campanelli, thank you so much for all you do for our community.
Thanks for having us.